we're bang in the middle of our arts residency where we have Yash Pradhan, who's a self-taught digital artist, illustrator, and graphic designer from Bombay. And collaborating with him is Eeshani Mitra, aka Acidic Object on Instagram. She's a 2D animator, visual designer, and photographer from Bombay. Um, we also have a special guest with us today. Hi, Sana. Sana is the founder of Open Call India, and she'll be joining us today with questions for our artists. So yeah, kicking it off, I feel Sana, do you want to talk a little bit about what Open Call India is doing for artists?
Yes. Thank you for that introduction, Rupert. Really happy to be here. And just introduction about like what Open Call has been doing. It's been 2 years now. Is that it basically bridges the gap between the artists and the organizations, and sort of like gives opportunity to the artists in terms of like grants, exhibitions, sort of like residencies, and like various other like job opportunities. And there was like a very evident gap in the art industry where like the organizations, if they were looking for like really say like relevant candidates, so they couldn't really find them. So Instagram is actually a very easy medium to find these people and just like build a community on it.
Right, because most of the artists there are there on Instagram, right? I see that the Indian art scene on Instagram is pretty booming currently, and I think it's only got miles and miles to go.
Yes.
Yash, do you want to introduce yourself to the world?
Yeah, of course. Hi guys, I'm Yash Pradhan. I'm a visual artist. I'm a designer, illustrator based out of Bombay. I usually create like surreal designs with like abstract objects and elements. And I've been creating this for like 4 5 years right now. And I've been freelancing to different brands and co. And yeah, I'm excited to like move my NFT journey across eDAO. But yeah, I think that's about it.
Great. I think my journey in the NFT space I'm pretty new to the space too. I mean, like I started this year itself, and how people use the rocket emoji often in the Web3 space. I feel like it's like really true because that's how fast it has been for me. Ishani, do you want to talk about a little bit about yourself and your journey in the Web3 space?
Um, I'm Eeshani. I'm a photographer, a visual artist, and an animator based out of Bombay. Regarding my NFT journey, this is actually my first NFT that I am minting as a collaboration with Yash Pradhan. So I'm really excited. Like I've always wanted to mint one, but never really got onto it. But this is like a great start, I feel.
Great, we're like grateful to have you on board, honestly, and I'm like really excited to see what you guys have in store for Unlabel for us. Um, okay, so here's the question, right? I mean, how was your in the traditional sense, right? I mean, artists usually meet and they create art together, right? But cut to 2022, and thanks to the pandemic, I think collaborating virtually has become a thing. And in Web3 also, I think a lot of people are comfortable collaborating virtually. I mean, there's literally no borders when it comes to collaboration in when it comes to Web3. So how was your experience collaborating online with each other? Because I know that you guys have met each other sparingly, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, like the funny part was like we, of course, then meet each other, but like we have bumped into each other in like small exhibits and pop-ups, but never to a point where we sat down and talked or like thought about collaboration. But of course, like how you said, like Web3 is such a digital world. There's no boundaries where people can cross collaborate anytime, any day. So I'm more of like a vector and like clean design artist, while Shani is more of a frame by frame animator and an amazing photographer as well. So it was just like a fun aspect, like to think what are the possibilities. Usually, traditional vector designs have been animated and like in a very modern motion way, which is like using it in After Effects and things like that. But seeing it in frame by frame it's a different challenge, and I thought it would be an exciting collaboration for me to work with Eeshani, and yeah, that's how it just like worked out. Just like a quick DM on like, uh, let's do this. I have like some ideas, and I would love to have her inputs and her knowledge about like frame by frame animation, while I take over on the illustration part and see how it goes. And yeah, it's been amazing so far.
That's great to hear. Ishani, your experience?
It's as how it was like at first. The thought of animating like on a vector illustration was a bit daunting, but I was like, it would be a really unique experience for me, like because I also wanted to like figure out some interesting motions that could be done like really well in 2D animation. So yeah, it was fun. Like it was mostly like through video meets, like video calls, and like just planning. It was really great. Like this entire collaboration. Yeah.
That's awesome. Um, okay, so I just want to move the conversation to Web 2 versus Web 3 now, right? I mean, do you guys feel there are any stark differences between how you work in Web 2, right? How you work with brands or any other clients versus how you work in Web 3, whether it comes to, from a point of view of ownership of your own work or, demanding what you actually deserve for your work. So what do you think the differences are, or do you feel there are any differences or not?
I mean, for personally, me, uh, there are differences and there are also similarities. Maybe in Web 2, you might find those ownership through a contract by working with like any brands on go where you're like finding a contract between them and talking about ownership. But while on Web3, I think the convenience of like ownership is more and the transparency is more where anyone can like view the ownership
Yeah.
and the authenticity of like your work, like who it belongs to and who owned it. Like even from a traditional perspective, before even web or like Web 1, like where you had like a piece of like artwork, like a super, it could be a Mona Lisa, but like you can't authenticate it and everyone could have it, right? But here the authentication is like more easier and very transparent, where even if that one artwork was owned by 100 people, you can always view the history and you can see the transparency very easy.
Yeah, that's actually a really, really good point. Shani, I know that you've just started in this space, but do
Yeah.
you feel there's a little bit of, have you felt the difference a little?
Like it's yet to be minted, but what I feel like my acquaintances mint quite frequently, and I could tell that they are more happier also working towards the next piece because they know where exactly it's going, the artwork. Like there's a clear transparency, as Yash mentioned, there's a clear transparency as to the ownership of the person's art. So I feel an artist is more at ease putting out their work out there. So yeah, I feel like that's the difference I felt.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think for me, NFTs are like a means to fandom, like to get closer to the artists you love. And I just love
Yeah.
the fact that it's two-way exchange, right? I don't know, Sana, if you've had any, I mean, I'm sure you must have spoken to a couple of NFT artists. So what is your take on this? The difference between Web 2 and Web 3?
Actually, there's a lot of difference, but then, it also really depends on the artists themselves, how they navigate these challenges. And one of my questions for both the artists would be actually to know about the apprehensions that you have of getting into the Web3 space, and how did Yash you navigate it? Because I think it's very important to tell young artists, like, in order to also like build a good NFT community in India, it's also important to help each other out in terms of the challenges, because everyone is always talking about, oh, NFT so good, it makes artists financially independent, but there are like so many like catches to it. So Yash, what do you think about it? And also, like, if we can come to like maybe the sort of like legalities of working with brands, and like, if you have tips and advice for young artists like Ishani.
Yeah, I mean, Personally, I got started in like the entire NFT space like late 2019. I was like super early bird, I guess. I mean, there might have been like people who have been like there for a couple years, but that's where I got started, and there were like spaces like OpenSea, Nifty, Gateway, and things like that. Um, but right then, I think Foundation was something that literally started like as a new platform. And being a designer, I was like more attracted towards like the UI of the platform rather than its functionality, because even I was like super newbie to that platform itself. And I think that's where I got started, and I wanted to try out by knowing what exactly is like. I had to understand basically the basic concepts of like NFT, like what's fungible, not fungible, how the ownership works. There were like a lot of processes. Like, I mean, as much of these like gated communities are like invite only, they aren't like really curated. Like, as much as they might tell like, okay, we are like a curated platform and we are only invite based platform, but if anything, they need more of the artists, then the artists might need them more in a way. So yeah, I think that's something I learned in a very later stage, where I thought it's an invite or based only. There might be some kind of curation, but there was no curation in any platform for that matter. Any curated platforms aren't curated because all the platforms could have only like one homepage and like certain number of features, right? So it's not like a curation, it's more of like a random algorithm where you may or may not get featured. So again, like since there's no curation, you're like completely dependent on your own social media again. And on like in Web3, like I think the more important part is like Twitter, of course, because like everyone, whoever is talking about Web3 or like NFTs or even crypto in general, is more on like Twitter rather than Instagram. So like having an amazing audience which is based on Instagram won't help you or like won't drive you that engagement for your NFT, because whoever was active is active on Twitter. So you had to kind of rebuild on Twitter like a small, start your own community before you start like putting out NFTs or things like that, where you need to be part of communities, I feel like. And more than communities, you need to create your brand for your own self. And like, yeah, it's just like getting restarted in like a different platform. And yeah, I mean, few suggestions I would just like uh, give would be like just be aware about like any new platform that's uh, upcoming. They'll ask you, oh, can you mint your artwork on our platform and things like that. Because another technicality would be like there are many platforms, and as much NFT is like transparent and ownership is and all those things, like whatever the benefits and perks, whenever you mint on like any platform, they hold the image, whatever the artwork is, like it could be like a video, it could be like a static image. They basically store that data of in that platform. So if that platform kind of goes down, your NFT data will be there, but your image or video might just like go down. So just like be aware of like new platforms and things like that before you just like go crazy on like, okay, it's a new platform, they invited me, it's an invite only. So don't fall for that. Or even in terms of like galleries, like many galleries might just approach you, and you need in that process you just need to understand this split of like your profits or like from sales, because a lot of people may not understand how split works. Like in real life, it works like a commission where you have an agent, and the agent might take like a 20% off like your whatever the sale is. But on Web3, the split or like the percentage kind of lives on forever. So it works like a royalty. So if you're splitting with any gallery individual agent, you're not only splitting for that particular uh, amount or like that particular transaction, you're kind of splitting forever. So just like be aware of those things before you get yourself into that and then like regret forever. Sorry
Basically,
if
no.
I stressed. Yeah.
I'd also like to add my 2 cents here, right? I think I agree with Yash with the whole artist and the royalty split, right? I feel like on Web3, there's higher chances of it becoming like a sustainable loop of revenue, over time. Whereas on Web2, it's just, a lot of labels coming in and a lot of, job to job kind of revenue that happens. I also think that, as you mentioned, Yash, I think on Twitter, there's obviously like a larger community of Web3 native people, right? And on
Yeah.
Instagram, I think the learning curve is going to be a little steeper than
Yeah.
Twitter. I agree on that. But however, with the NFTs coming onto the platform itself,
Yeah.
I feel like the learning is going to be way faster.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely agree because like for many artists, Instagram is more preferable because a lot of like artists are like introverts or like even if they have their art out, it's usually better to have like a gallery, which is like Instagram has like a certain grid on your profile, but like on Twitter you can have like different threads and all that things. But a lot of people just want to showcase their visuals. So I think Instagram is like everyone's go-to platform. So I am like hoping to see that transition from like Twitter or like Instagram whenever that happens. But yeah.
Yash, I also have a question
Yeah.
for. Yeah, sorry, you were saying something?
Oh, go on, Sana, please.
Because we're talking about different social mediums, I wanted to ask, what do you think about using Discord for like NFT communities? And Eeshani, are you on any of those communities? How has your experience been?
No, like as I said, this is like my first time. So I'm not on any Discord community, but I did like try, like I did get an invite for foundation. As Yash said, it's not really curated. Like it's like getting an invite. So I do have an invite on foundation. Like I did make a page, but as I said, I did not mint anything yet. So yeah.
Okay, I think we have an audience question. I think I'd like Yash to take this because he has the foot in the door already. So Imran Ladak asks Yash, some of us older designers or artists are eager to work in Web3 too. Is there any advice for us?
I I mean, if older artists in the sense like a traditional artist like that too, it all like there's no advice or anything, but like it's just like having your community or like whatever the Web2 community you have. Maybe it's always easier to educate your community and bring that community with you rather than building an entirely new community because I feel that's more easier to do rather than just like starting a new community altogether in Web3. So it's always like easier because like whatever the current audience you have, they are also at some point they are gonna transition to Web3. So my well as like just like educate them and like take them with you to Web3 rather than just like just like trying to find a new space. But yeah, I think that's like a small step that could be useful.
Yeah, that's a very sane piece of advice. In fact, I always think that product wise, I think on Web3 community is the product for me. And it's the most important thing in the entire loop, right?
Yeah.
Uh, Here's a fun question, right? I mean, how do you guys explain NFT to your parents or your friends? I mean, what are the analogies that you guys use?
I mean, personally, I just tell them it's more like an asset, and it's something. Of course, like I try to explain like the full form in terms of like non-fungible and what is fungible and not fungible. Like it can be exchanged or it cannot be exchanged. So those were the terminology I try to explain, and of course, like things like ownership and transparency. Where let's say if you have a wallet address, I can see what are your transactions, what all assets you hold, and what crypto do you own, and things like that. So I think NFT is like something I try to explain. It's an asset which is very transparent. You can see the ownership, and you can see it from any platform a lot of times. Yeah. I think.
Right. Eeshani, do you have an analogy, or do you just give up when people say it's a JPEG that you can download? Because I've gotten that many a
But can you
times.
sell it though? You can, of course, download it all the time. Sorry, Ashani, I'm cutting you, but yeah.
Um, if like the question was, what do you tell to your parents? First of all, my parents are not really like involved in any of this, but yeah, like I think if I had to explain, I would tell them it's one way to just people to feel like yes, I'm actually owning the art piece, even though it's just right there in the web. It's like in Web3, but it's like an ownership. So I feel instead of just that's the difference. Like instead of just doing right click and saving an image, I guess that's one way to tell them. But yeah, like my parents are not really involved in like any of these things.
But I think the time is coming for them to get involved in a few years. I think we're still early in the scene, but yeah, it'll happen. Sana, anything that you use on your parents or your friends?
I mean, my parents are also really not into the scene. They don't understand it. But I would like to plug in something which is basically a platform called Worlds. And they've just started recently doing this Web3 glossary where they're explaining all these metaverse terms like NFT, blockchain, DAO. So, like, yeah, people can just go on to Worlds and just check these out. It's really simply then like you don't have to rack your brains, you don't have to Google like 6 sites to actually understand what these mean. So yeah, just make your life simple.
I think that's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. You just like, take the dictionary and just
Yeah.
figure it out. I give a very weird 90s kid analogy to them, okay, where I'm just like, you remember, like to call them digital collectibles. First of all, I don't use the word non-fungible tokens in front of them because they will definitely not understand it, right? I call them digital collectibles. I tell them that, think of it, do you remember those Tazos that used to come in the Lace packet when we were kids? So I try to explain it to them that they are almost like Tazos, where you can use it as a social currency. And also, obviously Tazos did not have any utility attached to them, but NFTs do. So that's the kind of analogy I try to draw to them, and they kind of understand it. They're saying, okay, it's not a physical collectible or a digital, but I try to tell them that it's also physical. It can be physical also. So I mean, I'm just getting there, but I think it's going to take some time.
Now we also have the concept of phygital, which is basically like physical and digital. So that's another layer.
Absolutely. Are any of you guys planning to do a digital one? Yash, Eeshani, you guys have physical works that you want to convert to digital?
Hmm, for me, it will be some kind of installation. Yeah. I feel installations look like really cool, and I feel like maybe like have an installation in like like the in a gallery in the artificial space, like in the metaverse, but that installation there. So I think kind of that would be cool. Like if I could like translate the physical work that way, like in terms of installation, mostly like photography based. I think that would be like a really cool thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. All right, I think I'm done with my questions, you guys. Sana, do you have any more questions to ask?
I just had one. Shani, when I was preparing these questions, I did look. I realized that you were also the exhibiting artist at Method Art Space.
Yeah.
And in your AMA that you did on their IG, you had mentioned that you would like to sort of expand your current work and make installations and works. So that was going to be my next question to you. Like, how do you see that translate onto the Web3 if you would like to make a digital collectible or something? But you've already answered that, so I'm happy.
Great.
I think there is someone who's asking a question.
Okay.
Sorry, is Eeshani with us?
Yeah, I am. Like you guys.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
I think Imran is again asking, which are some of your favorite NFT projects? Do you guys have an NFT project that's your favorite?
I mean, my acquaintance, he's a friend of mine, head on stick, Revan Das Gupta. I quite like the stuff he puts out. Like he has, I think all of his NFTs are sold out. Like he does
That's
really limited work, but it's sold out. I really like his stuff. And main Beeple, like he's one of the OGs, I think. So I think I really dig his work where he like experiments with public figures and just makes crazy stuff out of it. Yeah.
that sounds wonderful. Yash, Sana, do you guys have any favorite NFT projects?
I mean, I was going to say, Yash.
Yeah, I mean, I think I love doodles. They are like a fun project, as in PFP generative artwork, and plus also the artist is amazing. And I also love my partner NFT collection, which is called Women Plus. So that's an amazing collection of like diverse women all around the world, and I think that's an important project for me also because I feel like diversity in Web3 is like so necessary, and like it's also it's such a new space where there are like so many aspects that can be brought up, and like a lot of the like, projects that have been there, they worked out because they were primarily very new in the space. So I feel like being super diverse and in the newer growing space is always a good thing. So that's why I love Movement Plus, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I think case in point being Goblin Town, right, which is my favorite NFT project these days because it started as a free mint with these
Yeah,
weird
yeah.
ass goblins just like talking weird stuff, and they built a community around that, which I thought was pretty fantastic. And I
Yeah.
wish I could have got my hands on the free mint, but I didn't. But yeah,
Damn.
Sana, you have a favorite NFT project that you'd like to share with us?
I mean, like I mentioned, I was really into what Yash is doing. He's been working with a lot of different brands. He's doing a lot of different work. But I was also like really impressed by Dimple's work because it really makes us realize how, women also always being the marginalized sector in the community. She's bringing that forth and it's quite nice.
Yeah, I think that's great. Are there any more questions? I think we're cool, right? I mean, like, this was a great conversation, you guys. I think I'm grateful for your time, that you gave us today, and this was a very fruitful conversation for all of us. Sana, thank you so much for being here and being a part of this conversation. So hopefully, we can do some kick-ass stuff with Open Call India in the coming days.
Thank you for having me here. I had a great time.
All right, I'll see you guys on the other side then.
All
Yeah.
right.
See you. Nice talking to you guys. I was hoping there was like some quick round, right, of game. Nupur, if you forgot about it, what would you rather?
Sorry?
Something. I thought there was gonna be a quick round of game called What Would You Rather or Would You Rather Do This or something like that.
Yeah, we're gonna play that.